Hello everyone! It has been a while that Dark Pact cast on self has been off the meta, and while I was trying to make a build with it, I realized Dissolution of the Flesh would not only be a big advantage, but also a key mechanic to make cast on self Dark Pact work. I really wanted to give it a go and see how well it would scale. You can make this build for really cheap, as it only requires 2 uniques that are worth a bunch of chaos, and the rest of the gear can just be rares with high life. I will include my current POB in the description, and a league start POB that can be done for really cheap. I think Dark Pact is a really cool skill. It's a fast casting Nova spell, and with the booming sound effect, it almost feels like a slam. I really love it. It also scales with life, as it sacrifices a portion of your life to deal that much chaos damage. However, cast on self Dark Pact is usually not done, as you sacrifice a lot of life to be able to cast, which means you usually end up at 1 HP and something just instantly kills you. But that is where Dissolution of the Flesh comes in. Dissolution of the Flesh solves this issue, as damage taken is reserved, and thus it is possible to cast Dark Pact without having to worry. Dark Pact sacrifices a portion of your life to deal that much damage. What that means is that we are both at risk of bringing ourselves to 1 HP, and also that Dark Pact scales with life. Dissolution of the Flesh does two things. First, it makes it so we do not have to worry about Dark Pact bringing our HP down, as the damage taken is reserved instead of it being actually detracted from life. So the whole mechanic of what there is to be worried about when it comes to dying is changed. You only have to worry about the life reserved and for it not to reach 0. We do not care about the actual life left. Second, it gives us 30% more life. That is big damage as Dark Pact scales with life. We also pick Blood Magic so that we do not have to worry about mana cost or skyrocketing the cost with life tap, and we get another 10% more life. These more life modifiers are multiplicative with each other, so by running Dissolution of the Flesh and Blood Magic, we get 43% more life. That's huge. With life gear and life nodes on the tree, we can get to 13k life pretty easily, which makes us tanky as long as we can take no damage for 2 seconds to unreserved life, so that Dissolution of the Flesh does its job. We also get Eternal Youth, which gives us life recharge with a 2-second delay. It just so happens that this cooldown is the same as Dissolution of the Flesh. What that means is that when you do not take damage for 2 seconds, your life will be unreserved fully, and thus you will be at full HP effectively again. Simultaneously, you will start recovering your life thanks to Eternal Youth, which means you will be able to sacrifice it for Dark Pact to deal its full damage instead of just the base damage. As a cherry on top, Wrathpith Globe lets us scale damage with life even further than we already do with Dark Pact alone. This way, scaling life becomes really effective. First and foremost, the shield. We run Wrathpith Globe. This is mandatory. With 13k life, this shield gives us 650% increased spell damage and 650% increased critical strike chance. That's insane. This is why we can scale the DPS to be so high and the crit chance to be 100% without investing too much into it. I bought this shield with a Crucible tree that gives a bit of life and Endurance Charge on kill for extra tankiness, and it cost me 2 divines mainly because of that Crucible tree. Otherwise, it costs only a few chaos. In the shield, we socket Haste with Eternal Blessing and Val Righteous Fire. Haste with Sublime Vision gives us a lot of speed that spell builds tend to lack. Val Righteous Fire we can use without worrying about our HP being dropped down, as Dissolution of the Flesh takes care of that. For the weapon, we run a Spell Wand. My wand has generic spell DPS affixes. I got it with crit chance and crit multi and spell damage. The Crucible tree has +2 spell critical strike chance to make sure my critical strike chance with Dark Pact is capped. You can get any wand you can find that has similar mods. I paid 4 divines for this one. In the weapon, we socket Flame Dash with faster casting and enhance. For the helmet, I am using Crown of the Tyrant. It is better to get a high life roll. This helmet is good because it reduces the chaos resistance of nearby enemies, and we are often in nearby range when casting Dark Pact. And it adds flat chaos damage by having it with a white socket. However, the helmet is not mandatory. Getting a rare helmet with high life is good enough. You can also get an enchant related to Dark Pact or a +1 to maximum power charge corruption. I just didn't find this helmet with those. I bought the helmet for 1 divine, and in it, we socket Portal in the white socket that it rightfully deserves. For the chests, I bought this armor. It gives high base life and high percentage life. It also helps me cap resistances, and I put an Eldritch implicit that allows me to keep 3 frenzy charges. You can also run the Covenant if you want, and if you've already capped your resistances elsewhere. I bought this armor for 1 divine. I then 6-linked it and spent a bunch of lesser Eldritch Embers to get the frenzy charge implicit. In the armor, we socket our main skill, Anomalous Dark Pact. 2120. It doesn't have to be anomalous or 2120, but the anomalous quality gives it a higher portion of life sacrifice to give it more damage. We link it with Awaken Increased Area of Effect, Awaken Spell Echo, Awaken Void Manipulation, Increased Critical Damage, and Power Charge on Critical. For the gloves, I got Null and Void for Life in Rampage. And because these gloves are extremely cheap, it's very easy to get them with good corruption implicits. Rampage is a lot of speed and is an amazing mechanic to have while mapping. And the +2 spell crit chance implicit helps us cap our crit chance. These also happen to have percentage increase max life implicit. However, you don't need all of this. These gloves with any useful implicit will do, or you can opt for anything else you might want. I bought the gloves for 80 chaos, and in them we socket Anomalous Cast 1 damage taken, Anomalous Steel Skin, Increased Duration, and Vowed Light. The gems do not have to be alternate quality, they are just slightly better this way. Alongside Vow Righteous Fire, you can pop Vowed Light on bosses to melt them faster. For the boots, we run rare boots with high life and movement speed. We also have dexterity on them to help run a higher level haste and resistances that we need. I bought these boots for 2 divines, and I spent a whole bunch of lesser Eldritch Embers to get percentage action speed on them. I didn't even bother to enchant them with attack and cast speed if you've killed recently. In this, we socket a Wither Totem setup. The gems are Wither, Spell Totem, multiple totems, and faster casting. For the amulet, I am using Strangle Gasp. This amulet is amazing because it allows us to anoint the major life notables we aren't getting, and infused for the +1 to maximum power charge notable we are missing. However, you do not need this amulet, and it's quite expensive. It cost me 25 divines plus 4 divines of anointments. You can instead run any life amulet with crit multi and +2 level of your main skill gem. For the rings, we run Death Rush. Self-explanatory, it gives even more speed, and on top of the other speed mechanics, it allows you to zoom exceedingly fast for a spell build. For the other ring, we run a rare ring with Despair on hit. This Despair on hit is really important, and you want to get it somewhere on your gear. I managed to get a high life ring with Despair on hit for 4 divines. However, you do not have to get it with high life. Finding a ring that just has Despair on hit should be very easy and cheap, and any life on it is a bonus. You can also get Despair on hit as a glove implicit corruption, or you can also use for really extremely cheap Asenath's Gentle Touch for temporal chains on hit. Overall, having a curse applied to enemies is mandatory for this build, so that Profane Bloom works. Awaken Spell Echo also works synergistically with Despair on hit. This is because the faster we cast, the sooner we apply the damage bonus of Despair on hit, and thus the more efficient it is. Also, the quality of life double tap guarantees most rares die before we have to think about casting further with a slower cast speed. This allows us to press once for a quick double tap to one-shot everything, and efficiently stutter step forward without having to step back for unfinished rares, or having to cast slower multiple times to finish them off. You can also give up Sublime Vision and use Impresence to run Despair Blasphemy for free. However, I don't suggest this when optimizing the build, as you lose a lot of speed giving up the Sublime Vision, and you can get the amulets that give better stats than Impresence. For the belt, I am using Darkness Enthroned with a good roll. This gives me a lot of stats from the Abyss Jewels I have socketed, and the Abyss Jewels have life, cast speed, and crit multi. So this belt gives me good life and damage. You can use any belt that gives a lot of life. I dropped this Darkness Enthroned, but the average roll price is a few chaos, nothing more. For the flask, I am running a bismuth with elemental resistances suffix to easily cap my resistances and not have to worry. It has 100% uptime thanks to, you know it, Brutal Restraint and the Trader Keystone. Then, I am running a Quicksilver with movement speed suffix and a Diamond Flask with crit strike chance suffix to cap my crit chance. The last 2 slots are empty for the trader to function. For prefixes, it is preferable to get increased charge recovery or reduced charges per use. There are 2 key mechanics when it comes to the passive tree for the build to work. One of them is socketing in Dissolution of the Flesh. I explained earlier why Dissolution of the Flesh is necessary and why it is so good. The other mechanic is the amazing Profane Bloom. This is arguably the best on-death explosion mechanic in the game. It has a 50% chance to proc per kill and deals 25% of the enemy's life as chaos damage. This chaos damage is scalable with all the percentage increased chaos damage that you have, and you have a lot. So much so that even a white mob exploding can one-shot a rare mob. The explosion also has a base radius of 22, which becomes 30 after minimal investment in AoE. This makes the build feel incredibly smooth, and it gives it that satisfying pop sound that we all love when clearing packs, leaving nothing behind. Profane Bloom is the reason why we need to have Curse on Hit. Curse on Hit applies, then the mob dies, and the explosion goes off. So for the passive tree, we are Occultist. We grab Profane Bloom. Void Beacon and Withering Presence give a lot of damage and bonus Chaos Res. Forbidden Power gives us even more damage and AoE. So at the beginning of which, we grab damage, crit, AoE, and the power charge. We path to the left, and really important, we grab all of the life nodes on the way. As you can see, we grab the other power charge here, and we socket Brutal Restraint with the trader. Make sure that Brutal Restraint gives onslaught on kill, just like the one I have. The number I have also gives me 4% increased max life on the other 2 notables. I will leave all of the numbers that give onslaught on kill in the description below. Moving even further down, we grab Eternal Youth and Iron Will. Both of these actually have the purpose to increase damage, not just Iron Will. That is because, like I mentioned before, Eternal Youth lets us recover life, which means we can sacrifice it to increase the damage of Dark Pact. Sacrificing the life of Dark Pact does not count as damage taken, so once the life recharge has started, you will constantly have more than 4k effective regen per second that you will be able to keep sacrificing for more damage. We then path down to Blood Magic, grabbing again all of the knife nodes that are on the way. We are also running haste so that we can run Sublime Vision here at the top of the tree, and we are using haste with Eternal Blessing. Therefore, even though we use Blood Magic, we do not have to worry about reserving any life. For the other jewels besides Dissolution of the Flesh and Brutal Restraint, we run Sublime Vision, like I just said, with haste and rare jewels that give us life and damage. These can both be Abyss jewels, like the ones I have, or Cobalt jewels. Either way, the number 1 priority with those jewels is life, flat life in case of Abyss jewels, percentage life in case of Cobalt jewels, and then you want cast speed and crit multiplier. In the passive tree, I am also using 2 cluster jewels. One is a large Chaos Cluster Jewel. This jewel is really good and I paid 20 divines for it. However, you don't need such a good jewel. If you're running this big cluster jewel, as long as it has a good roll on life and either cast speed with chaos skills or percentage increased effective nodes, it's good to go. You can also just not run a large cluster jewel and pick other things on the tree, or focus on another cluster jewel with good chaos notables instead of one that boosts small nodes that is more expensive like this one. Either way, the tree is malleable, and you can make do with what you have when it comes to the last 10 extra points. I'm also using a medium cluster jewel that boosts my AoE with vast power and towering threat. This build is extremely cheap to pull off, while the performance remains very solid and our HP is very high. This makes it a good choice for a league start. I will leave a 10 Divine POB in the description. With that said, this build relies on Dissolution of the Flesh. Without it, Dark Pact sacrifices our HP too fast and will lower our life very quickly. This runs the risk that anything will kill us randomly when our HP is very low after casting Dark Pact a few times. Therefore, I recommend using another spell as you level up, like any chaos spell, such as Light, Bane, or Essence Drain. As soon as you can get Dissolution of the Flesh, you can switch to Dark Pact. As you can see here, this is the graph of the price of Dissolution of the Flesh at the league start of Crucible. On the third day, it was already down to 69 chaos, and after that, it quickly lowered to 20. So you can easily level up with any chaos spell skill of your preference, following the same tree without issues, and swap to Dark Pact as soon as you get Dissolution of the Flesh. After Dissolution of the Flesh, aim to get Rat Pit's Globe second, so you can start getting a lot out of investing in life and scaling your damage very quickly. As you can see from the cheap POB, the rest of the gear is just cheap, non-mandatory uniques and rare gear with life, all of it easily obtained. The build has crazy returns for investment. It is very good life, very good DPS, and very good movement speed for a league start that requires such low investment. One caveat is that Dissolution of the Flesh takes time getting used to. It requires 2 seconds to instantly, effectively recover your life to full, but if you take damage during those 2 seconds, it will not unreserve your life. Keep in mind that if it reserves all of your life, you will obviously die, so there will be moments where you will have to step back and let your life get unreserved. However, for the vast majority of the time, you will be able to cruise through your maps without even bothering having to check how much life is reserved. As you have so much life, you will not have to worry much, like you can see from the way I play in my showcase. It had been a while since I had played an occultist build, and it was a ton of fun. I am a Caustic Arrow enjoyer, so seeing those Profane Bloom explosions back on my screen was very satisfying. I will admit that I am personally not a fan of the Dissolution of the Flesh tech in general. However, the build played smoothly regardless and allowed me to zoom around the map really quickly and farm fast. I was pleasantly surprised at how easy it is to put the build together, making it very league start viable. As soon as you have your jewel, you're good to go with Dark Pact, and there is absolutely no need to do a crazy respec of your tree and change your items once you hit maps after finishing the campaign, as the tree and any rare items with life will be good both for leveling up and for the end build. If you are a fan of chaos skills and purple explosions on the screen, this build is definitely to consider. A big thank you for taking the time to watch my content, and feel free to ask any questions you may have in the comments below or in my stream. Lots of kisses for everyone. Mwah! And goodbye!